right, well, hello everyone again. My name is Andres, and I would like to continue to talk about Star Ocean 5. I'm just very excited for this game. I am thrilled to know that it's coming out, and I can't stop thinking of ideas on how to improve it, and I can't stop asking people on forums on what they think that could be improved on the game, and I've gotten a lot of responses. Penny that I probably won't mention here yet. I like to get some of the ones that I had in mind out of the way, and then perhaps getting into any other person's particular perspective on how the game can be improved. The first thing I'd like to talk about today, and I have several subjects that I saw that I could have talked about. I'm trying to make this video a little less short than the last one. I don't want to take up all this time in talking about Star Ocean 5. Unless you guys like it, then you guys have to let me know, because there's just so much to talk about, and I can go on about this for a very, very long time. The very first thing that I wrote on this whole situation was more factors, and I'm excited for Star Ocean 4 and Star Ocean 3 because I saw that in both of them the weapons and the accessories had a lot of factors that you can attach to them. Boots of Prowess, you were able to do basically 8 duplicates of plus 30 plus attack and defense, and you had the option of adding 8 factors to a weapon in Star Ocean 3. However, you can only duplicate defense in Star Ocean 3 when there was one already there. If it didn't have it, you can't duplicate it. You can't add anything to the armor. It kind of felt like it was like something they could have added and probably would have given it more of a just a better experience in general. Star Ocean 4, on the other hand, they allowed whatever you would want to put on an accessory. People loved it. They used the tri-emblems on Star Ocean 4, and they allowed for 8 factors to be placed, or 4 factors, I think it was, 4 factors for Star Ocean characters under weapons, so you can add 4 factors onto that. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I still don't believe you were able to put anything into the armor yet, if I'm not mistaken. It's been almost some time since I played Star Ocean 4. It's possible they probably had 4 factors on it too, though, because that was my alternate understanding of how that game went. So they're on the right track, and I think that the more factors you can put onto weapons, the more you can customize it yourself, the more you can add things onto it to make you stronger, the better. It's not a bad thing. However, they do have to counterbalance all of the enemies, and they have to counterbalance the enemies' difficultiness, because when you have very powerful characters, you're going to need very powerful enemies to counteract anything that you add onto it, so you can keep that difficulty that keeps the game strong and sturdy. The second thing that came to mind was Rush Mode, and Rush Mode in Star Ocean 4, it's the only one that has it. It's kind of like it's not a Berserk, but it is just like an X Factor. If you ever played Marvel vs. Capcom 3, or some type of enhancement to the character for a short period amount of time that you activated, and basically under Rush Mode there were several different things that you would get out of it. There were 3 different types of Rush Mode that you can enter, which you were able to select. Excuse me. Now, as far as the Rush Mode is concerned, I think it's a very good idea to keep it. It's kind of like you have your ability to call on something at your command, and you can use it whenever you want throughout the battle, and you obtain it by just basically damaging enemies or by using a specific move. There were certain qualifications in order to accumulate that Rush Mode amount, and Star Ocean 4 did implement that. I thought it was a great idea. It gave me a little bit more control over the battle, and I was able to perhaps maneuver and strategize a little more with that Rush Mode available whenever I required it. Um, and even with one of the rush modes that were available, you were able to continue on and increasing and maintain the rush mode as long as you continue to beat up the enemy. As long as it never hit zero, you were fine, and you were continuing to just pummel the enemy until basically you beat the enemy and you had rush mode the entire battle. Now this is the next topic. I think is one of the biggest topics that had gone on since Star Ocean 1, I would say, because even in Star Ocean 1, after playing it, when I played First Departure, this was definitely something that was its pinnacle, but they didn't make it a very important aspect of the battle system, and it's kind of it was kind of discouraging, because you don't want to use these characters because they're not up to par compared to other characters, and these are the mages. The magic in Star Ocean has increasingly gotten better with time. Star Ocean 3 has gotten better. Star Ocean 4 was a definite upgrade compared to all the other games that I've played for the Star Ocean series, and hopefully Star Ocean 5 brings it up to a much more higher level, hopefully an exponential level to where they're at in Star Ocean 4. In Star Ocean 4, in Star Ocean 1 and 2, for the most part, you just had one sequence of a long animation, and then it will deal one hit of perhaps a very high amount, 9,999 hit points very early on in the game. However, now when you have Claude in Star Ocean 2, who has a mirror slice, who does 9,999 hit points per slice, and there are a total of 15 slices, that's when the game tends to unbalance itself. The mages are no longer effective. The only time the mages were effective was because of the healer, and even in Star Ocean 2, the healer could have been replaced, and it could have been replaced with a fighter who had a special move that would heal the characters. In this case, it was Oprah. As you all know, her healing star from the Black System was a lifesaver for a lot of the people who has ever played Star Ocean 2. And then you have Chisato with the Weird Slayer, and that was equipable by Precis, Chisato, Bowman, Rena, and I even think Noelle could have used it. And that was kind of like, a gimme before everyone that was able to equip that weapon. It was high attack and recoverable and recovers half of the damage that you make. And for Chisato, that was a monster of a weapon, because you have moves like Whirlwind and Tear Gas, and these moves do a heavy set amount of damage that would guarantee her life back. So coming back into the magic aspect of it, perhaps Star Ocean 2 was on the right track. I sense that they had it right. They had the time, the simultaneous casting, which you would have the time two castings, so they occur at the same time. So let's say Leon's Gremlin Lair took 6 seconds to cast, while Rena's Light Cross took 3 seconds to cast. You were supposed to cast Leon's Gremlin Lair first, and then 3 seconds later cast Rena's Light Cross, in order for them to be cast simultaneously to create a brand new move. Although the move looked exactly the same as far as the animations were concerned, the animations came together and they damaged simultaneously, increasing the damage. That was a great idea. I think they should stick to that if they want to perhaps grow on this idea. And I think the best thing to do is probably make it a little bit more explosive, doing all that damage of a melee fighter, but incorporate it into an actual magic move. And a good example of this, and I thought of this, it was kind of like a fanboyish of me, but I am a fanboy of the game, so I guess I really can't counter that, but it's the Lunar Light for Celine, and I love Lunar Light since I saw it, because the animation was very nice. She just yelled out the word lunar light, and then they posted a picture of the moon, and it was a dark and quiet night, and then these rays of lunar light came toward the enemies, and they exploded, and it was like all these little like ribbons of something. It was a very nice animation, and basically what happened was it only hit once. There were so many ribbons and a huge explosion, but it only hit once, and it only hit once for the most amount of 9,999 damage. And I think that is not the best way to go about it when it comes to these particular moves. So let's continue on now with other ideas, perhaps. The whole point of the magic throughout Star Ocean, I think, is to make it as explosive and as effective as the melee characters. Melee characters, let's take a look at Arumat and Miracle's X-Claw and Arumat's Dragon War. When you mix those two together and you see videos online of when they know how to use them appropriately and mishmash them together, it's explosive. It's just this ongoing barrage of non-stop hits. Excuse me. By the way, this is some tea. I love tea, and this is the brand. It's called Tetley because I think it's a little bit philosophical for me to philosophize on the importance of tea. But anyways, going back to X-Claw and Dragon War, excuse me, you see that explosiveness, and if you can work that, that's great. Chisato's Tear Gas, another explosive move. It's just a continual barrage of hits. Oprah's Alpha on 1. It's not so much explosive as it is kind of astonishing as to how many, the actual gamma bursts that come out of her gun just follow the enemy around. Flamethrower from Chisato and Flamethrower from Oprah, both of them have this continual barrage of hits, and I think that's what's hooking the actual players. It's that continual amount of damage that's causing so much mayhem on the enemy that it's kind of satisfying to see that, and they need to do that with the magic. Now, they had a good idea with it with Meteor Swarm with Sophia. If you ever played Star Ocean 3, Sophia's Meteor Swarm is a continual barrage, although it's not as continual as I would like for it to be. Maybe at max amount, if you use Meteor Swarm, they should keep that, or the maximum proficiency is what I mean to say. They should keep that as the beginning, and maybe with a high end Meteor Swarm completely maxed out, it should be like this continual barrage of hits that will protect her, cause a lot of damage, and be able to continue this barrage of just complete destruction on the enemy. And I wish I could see that. They had think about it this way: how can you compare any magic in Star Ocean 3 to Maria's Energy Burst? Maria's Energy Burst is a freaking monster. Ever since you get it, it's just like this continual hit after hit of high MP, not so much high HP, but it's a good amount. But primarily, it was a high MP amount of damage that it would do. Very similar to Hyper Launcher if you've never played Star Ocean 3, and I know Hyper Launcher was probably very difficult to obtain, and I've only obtained it a handful of times myself. However, it's very similar in animation, except it is not a monster in part 2, and it is a monster in part 3. So let's continue here. Let's see here. Now, the next thing I'd like to talk about is the enhanced AI, which is also very important. We tend to rely on the AI a lot in Star Ocean. We need to rely on the AI in Star Ocean. It is something that is incredibly important. It requires a lot of developers probably to look into that and see the specifics. Final Fantasy 12 had the right idea with the gambit in letting the player control the AI. However, I'm sure the players in Star Ocean can agree that if we can skip that part and they can just somehow find a way to give us what we want, we will be able to obtain that same idea, except without all that extra work. Now, it was difficult for all of the Star Oceans to get an acceptable AI. For the most part, you just kind of ignore what the computer is doing and you just play with the person you're playing. However, the AI never really uses the character how you would like for them to use it. Excuse me. I do think that that it's good. It's still on track. I mean, it's good, you know, strong AI. However, it could be better, especially Star Ocean 2. Star Ocean 2 is AI. You can put them with, you know, the best setup and they'll just slash away, or they'll just, you know, be casting things that they shouldn't be casting. It was still messy. I mean, Star Ocean 4, yeah, it's okay, but you still have to put all your characters in manual. And I don't see how you can evade that, especially with bosses like Ethereal Queen or Unlimited Indalecio, in which these bosses are extremely difficult, especially if you're playing them by yourself without any assistance from anybody else. However, I do think that that the AI could be enhanced a little more, where they can use the best available moves, and the best way would probably be using the special moves. Now I'm gonna say this going back to my other video. I mentioned that, you know, that I was not in agreement in the order and how the strongest move in Star Ocean 2, for example, was just a slash with certain equipment on, as opposed to perhaps a special move. If we keep it in the order that it should be a special move, then you will find that if the AI is only made to use a special move, it will only use a special move. It would avoid using a regular attack. It would use a special move that it is assigned to, and hopefully it doesn't use a special move that is elemental and heals the enemy. Happened